So here it is. It's time for my specific general election prediction. Now, first let me brag in an insufferable way about just how good I was during the primary season. When Iowa happened, so Iowa was the caucus, the first event in the election season. Donald Trump was leading in the polls for the Republicans by a lot. I predicted that Ted Cruz would win. Now, this was actually one of the few ones where other pundits were saying they think Trump is going to win because he had such a huge lead in the polls. I think it was like a 6 or 7 point lead in the polls. Now, the reason why I said I think Cruz is going to win Iowa is because Ted Cruz had a really good ground game in Iowa. Donald Trump literally, famously, didn't know what a ground game was. On top of that, when you look at the historical trends of Iowa, they picked in the 2 elections prior to that, they had picked Rick Santorum one year and Mike Huckabee another year. So, in other words, they like the super fundamentalist, candidates, the uber religious candidates who kind of rub it in your face that they're religious. So, based on those factors, that Cruz had a better ground game and that he's the super religious candidate and that Trump had no ground game, I said the lead that Trump has in the polls in that specific state, irrelevant. Doesn't matter. I think Cruz is going to win. I got it right. Now, not only did I get it right, I think I got like the top 3 or 4. Like I got the order right. So, and then I also predicted the what would happen in Iowa on the Democratic side correctly. And so I made predictions for every event up until Michigan. Now, Michigan, Bernie Sanders literally pulled off the biggest comeback in primary history. The Real Clear Politics average of polls had him down, I believe, 30 points. You heard me correctly. He was down numbers we've never seen before in Michigan. Now, my prediction that night was, well, Bernie's going to lose, but he's going to make it a lot closer than most pundits think. People had already given Michigan to Hillary. They're like, that one's over. Next. Let's not even talk about that. I said it'll be close, much closer than people think, but Hillary's going to end up winning. I was wrong. Bernie Sanders pulled out a victory. So after Michigan, I stopped making predictions because I said, look, my predictions can only be as good as the data is, and if the data's not good, and obviously the data wasn't very good in Michigan, well then, I'm just an asshole guessing like anybody else, and I'm not giving you predictions that are based on actual facts. So I only like to make predictions, and I only like to say stuff with relative certainty. And after Michigan, there was just no more certainty. So up until that point, I think I got like 85% or a little over 85% of my predictions correct. And when I say predictions, most of the predictions I made, it was like I did in order. Okay, this person will be first, this person will be second, this person will be third. So in other words, I know this is a long-winded way of me saying I was all right when it came to the predictions. But I say that to say this. In the general election, that's not really the case. So there is more uncertainty in this election than in 2008 and then in 2012. So again, my prediction can only be as good as the available information, and the information is not crystal clear in this case. Now, there are some goofy-ass pollsters who think it is crystal clear, and they're giving Hillary Clinton 98% chance of victory. I think that is comically, laughably stupid. And you know who agrees with me? A person who I was feuding with for a while. I love how I called a feud as if he was responding to me. He never responded to me once, but I went after him a bunch of times. Nate Silver. So Nate Silver's problem, in my opinion, was, first of all, he predicted Trump would never get the nomination. I famously predicted it 3 contests in. When all the other pundits were still mocking him, going, yeah, okay, whatever, he'll have a little rise and then he'll fall off the cliff and that's the end of that. I said, no. When they were just 3 contests in, remember there are how many states? 50. I said 3 contests in, that's it. I think it would be a minor miracle if he doesn't win. It's overwhelmingly likely that he's going to be the nominee. He didn't see that coming. Now, in the general election, the second the general election started, for the first, few weeks, he had Hillary 85% chance of winning. He had just a ridiculous number. And I went after him. I said, Nate, that makes no sense because... So you're going based off the polls as you see them right now. What you cannot quantify and factor in is how they are running their campaigns. I had noticed some troubling things about how Hillary was running her campaign and some things about Trump that it was a decent campaign when he kept, hammering her on TPP, hammering her on foreign policy, hammering her on corruption. I said, if these trends continue, the election is going to tighten up. She ain't no 85% chance to win. And guess what? Over time, what I said was borne out by the numbers. Now, I knew that would be the case, but since it's a subjective analysis based on how they're running their campaigns, he couldn't factor that in. I'm not blaming him for that. I'm just saying your model is lacking. Now, again, his model is totally objective and empirical and based on things you can quantify, and I get it's hard to quantify how you're running their campaigns, but that's why I thought my prediction was better. That's why I said, no, it's not 85%. It's much, it's a much lower percentage chance than that. Well, guess who came around? And again, to be fair to him, it's not like he's coming around and he's like, oh, Kyle was right about this. No, it's just that the what was happening in the campaigns eventually was borne out in the numbers, just like I said it would be. So now Nate Silver has Hillary Clinton at about a 65% chance of winning the election. Again, there are models that have her at 98% to win. He's doing around in the media going, not even close. He said she's leading in the, in the polls at the national level on average now about 3 percentage points. He says that's it's common to have 3 percentage point swings in one direction or the other direction when it comes to polling in general. So to say that with a 3-point lead on average that she's safe, I mean, that's crazy. Obama and Romney, Obama overshot his polls by about 3 percentage points. That happens all the time. That's standard margin of error. So for people to say, well, she has a 3 percentage point lead in the national polls, that this thing is over, they don't know what they're talking about. Now, again, this is Nate Silver saying it. Nate Silver has slowly but surely morphed into me. Now, when I look at this election, I see a lot of question marks. So I'm going to get to some specific reasons why it's harder to do a prediction for this election in a little bit. But first, let me get into the states. So let's break it down. Typically, in a general election, the 2 most important states that it comes down to are what? Ohio and Florida. Those are the ones you always hear about. Oh my God, what's happening in Ohio in that one county that, everybody's like, oh, that one county's coming in and that's always the biggest county. And Florida, obviously, Bush v. Gore, we know what goes down there. So, what is the official Secular Talk prediction as to who will win Ohio and who will win Florida? Donald Trump. Uh-oh, pucker your buttholes. So, for Ohio, I don't even think it's close. I think Trump is going to pretty solidly take Ohio. That's not a good thing. If you're a Democrat and you hear that, you should probably be like, what? Why do you think Hillary Clinton was in Ohio yesterday, campaigning with LeBron James? They're pulling out all the stops. They're like, oh, fuck. Somebody call LeBron. We need him. Now, Hillary being Hillary, she miscalculates and doesn't understand that your veneer of like, oh, I'll lean on LeBron and people in Ohio like LeBron, so this will work. That's not going to make up for the fact that people think you're for these trade deals which have ruined their lives. So, classic miscalculation from Hillary Clinton. But yeah, I think Donald Trump is going to take Ohio. Now, Florida is a much different question. I'm not as solid in my prediction in Florida, and some early indicators show that perhaps the Democrats will take Florida. But I do think Donald Trump will edge it out in Florida. So I think he'll get Ohio and he'll get Florida. Now, then the question becomes, does Hillary Clinton make it up elsewhere? The answer is yes. Okay, so she's going to take Colorado and she's going to take Virginia. 2 very important states. Her leads there are fairly solid. It would be, a minor miracle for Trump if he jacks that from her. But having said that, remember, Michigan specifically, Bernie Sanders jacked that from Hillary and nobody saw it coming. So is it possible Trump takes it? It is. Now, this is something you won't hear other pundits on CNN say. Those lockdown for Hillary. Look, I think it's likely she's going to win those. Total lockdown? No. But I would put those in her category. Now, North Carolina. North Carolina is super close. But I think Trump is going to pick that off. Now, in this case, it's not on the up and up. So in other words, it's not like he's taking it and it's a totally legit fight. There's voter suppression efforts going on there. Early turnout is 8% down among black communities. And we know what's going on. There's always fuckery behind the scenes in these southern states where they really do try to suppress the vote, and with the shitty voter ID laws and stuff. And it is an attempt to keep the turnout low, which always benefits the Republican. But I do think when push comes to shove, Trump will take North Carolina. Now, Nevada is super close. Super close. 2 days ago, I would have said, I think Trump will take that. Today, I do not. Because I think there are early indicators in Nevada, which are even stronger than in Florida, which show the Democrats are doing well there. So, and even 538 Nate Silver the other day had it leaning Republican. Today, he has it leaning Democratic. So I think that Hillary will take Nevada. But again, that one's definitely in play for Donald Trump. Definitely in play. He has a real shot of winning there. Again, that's not well, I mean, I guess they will say that about Nevada specifically, but I was going to say that's not something other pundits will say, but I think other pundits are actually kind of open on the issue of Nevada, and they'd say, yeah, there is a shot for Trump there. All right, so what will it come down to? Well, actually, before I get to that, Iowa. Who's going to take Iowa? This is a state that Obama won last time. So Hillary's going to take it this time, right? Wrong. Donald Trump is going to get it. I don't think that one's going to be even close. Noticing a trend here, this election is a lot closer than people have been making it out to be. So what will it come down to? Well, if Trump gets Florida and North Carolina, and if he manages to pick off Nevada, which is a real possibility, but I do put that in Hillary's camp right now, he's going to need to pick off just one of these states: Pennsylvania, Minnesota, Wisconsin, or Michigan to win. So if things go his way and he manages to pick off races that are pretty close, so I'll repeat that. If he ends up getting Florida, very close there now, but I think he's going to take it. If he ends up getting North Carolina, very close there now, but I think he's going to take it. If he ends up getting Nevada, close there now, I think Hillary will take that one, but he could definitely take that one. There's a shot, but it leans Hillary, so I'd predict Hillary takes it. But that means if he were to get those three, he would just need to pick off one of these four: Pennsylvania, Minnesota, Wisconsin, or Michigan, in order to win. Will Donald Trump do it? Will Donald Trump pick off one of those states and win? The official Secular Talk prediction: no, he will not. Now, why do I say that? When you look at the odds, his best case scenario is she's a 75% favorite. In those states, it's mostly 80% chance Hillary wins here, 78% chance here, 75% chance there. I'm not sure if it's Minnesota or Michigan where she's 75% favorite. But now, okay, but again, pucker them buttholes real quick, because I'm going to throw a curveball at you. Remember, Michigan was the state where Bernie Sanders swooped in and just said, yeah, okay, elbow, my state, when she had 30-point lead on average in the polls, and Bernie won it. So is it conceivable that they go for Donald Trump over Hillary Clinton? Fuck yeah, it is. Fuck yeah, it is. Because that state is one of those states where when push came to shove, they went Hillary. They're yearning for something more anti-establishment. So, with all that being said, what's the official Secular Talk prediction? Again, in this particular election, it's a high level of uncertainty, and I'm going to explain why in a second. But the official Secular Talk prediction is she's going to edge out the election 279 electoral votes to 259. 279, 259, Hillary Clinton is the official Secular Talk prediction. I would not be surprised at all to see anything in this range, and I'm not surprised at all, and it's right, in line with the prediction I'm making here. Anything from 273 electoral votes for Hillary to 323 electoral votes for Hillary. 323 is on the high end, and I would be a little surprised if you get up that high, but that's the range. The range is Hillary anywhere from 273 to 323, and the official prediction, tentative prediction, because again, it's hard to tell, there's so much uncertainty, is Hillary 279. So that's my breakdown for the election here. Now, I told you I was going to finally get to the uncertainty and why this is such a hard election to predict. Well, here's why. First of all, in 2012, now everybody's saying, well, look, Hillary has a bigger lead in the national polls right now than Obama did in the national polls in 2012. So why is everybody so scared? Well, look, you fundamentally misunderstand elections if that's the way you're looking at it. If you're saying, well, the national poll is all that matters. No, it obviously matters state by state because the Electoral College matters. So even though she has a bigger lead in the national polls, understand the way it works out in the states is not as good for her. So let me give you some reasons behind that. Only 3% of voters were undecided or voting third party in 2012. What's that number this year? 13%. That's a big difference, man. That's a huge difference. 3% undecided or voting third party versus 13% undecided or voting third party. That could decide the election right there. They break one way or the other way on election day, boom, that swings the election completely. Again, this is something you're not going to hear. The only person mentioning this is Nate Silver. Every other, idiot bobblehead on TV doesn't even bring that up. That's not even a factor to them. All right, more. Her ground game is by far and away superior to his. So since her ground game is better, that means a lot, man. That means a lot. So, for example, some of the early leads we're seeing from Democrats in states that are doing the early voting is solely based on the fact that the Democrats have been organized and trying to get out the vote, and they have systems set up to do that. Trump is kind of fucking winging it. Now, in some ways that helps him, but in other ways like this, it is a massive bias against him. It's not a bias against him, to be fair. I mean, he chose to go down this path, but it's something that it's hard to recover from. So it's possible that on ground game alone, in organization alone, that's why this election ends up tipping in Hillary Clinton's favor. The next thing is, she does really poorly with Midwest white voters. Obama did not necessarily do that. She does. So this category of Midwest white voters, middle-class white voters, poor white voters, uneducated white voters in the sense that they didn't go to college. These are people who they would get a good chunk of them would go Democratic because for obvious reasons. The Democrats are usually bigger on, harping away on trade issues. This election, that's not the case. This election, Donald Trump's campaign rhetoric is more anti-TPP, anti-NAFTA, I'm going to keep our jobs here and all that stuff. Hillary, she has union endorsements, but she rarely talks about, everybody knows it's window dressing about being against the TPP because she pushed for it 45 times. So they can smell the establishment on her. So that's an important chunk of voters. And they went for Obama over Romney. They're not going for Hillary over Trump. So that's a huge question mark in the election, and that could also decide it in the other direction. So you see, there's different factors here. Some tilt in her favor, some tilt in his favor, and that's why this is such a hard thing to predict because there's so much uncertainty. And then the final thing, which is just the height of uncertainty in this election, is overall turnout. Will black voters turn out in the numbers they turned out for President Obama? They need to if Hillary Clinton's going to win. Will millennial voters turn out at about the same clip they turned out for President Obama? You got to get those millennial voters, man. You got to have a turnout. You got to have turnout. The way it works, for those of you who don't know, when turnout is low, it benefits the Republican. When turnout is high, it benefits the Democrat. That's how it always works in general elections. Why is that? Because when turnout is low, that means it's mostly older people voting. Older people kind of view voting as a civic duty, so they just go through the motions, even if they don't like the candidates. So you're always going to have the older people vote. Millennials don't view it that way, or younger people in general don't view it that way. They only go out to vote when they feel like they got something they want to vote for. So what that means is when the turnout is higher, you have more millennials voting. When there's more millennials voting, it goes Democratic because millennials are overwhelmingly Democratic leaning. So it might come down to, those are the uncertainty factors. So many more undecided voters and third-party voters this election. That could make a huge difference. Her ground game is strong. His is non-existent. But she does poorly with Midwest white voters. Trump does well. That's not like we've seen with the Democrats and Republicans in the past. And overall turnout is key. So, final point I'll make on this. Anything can happen. Anything can happen. he can certainly win. He can certainly win. You know, to this day, there's a lot of just people, they refuse to acknowledge the possibility. Guys, they said it all along before. He's never going to run, then he ran. Okay, but he's never going to do well in the debates. He won the debates. Okay, well, he's never going to win a primary. He won a primary. Okay, well, he's never going to win multiple primaries and caucuses. He won multiple primaries and caucuses. Okay, well, he's never going to get the nomination. He got the nomination. Okay, he's never going to be president. You don't think it could happen? This country elected Ronald Reagan. He was a shitty actor. This country elected George W. Bush, a guy with an IQ that's equivalent to that of a gnat. You don't think it could happen? Especially when he's running up against the most establishment, insider, corrupt politician ever. And typically in elections, what happens? The Democrat is more, hey, I'm the outsider. I'm looking out for the people. This election, all the rhetoric is Donald Trump saying that, and Hillary saying, yeah, let's continue business as usual. The establishment fucked up, man. This was a total and utter miscalculation because they couldn't break out of their Washington bubble. Their Washington bubble where everybody loves Hillary Clinton. Fucking a lot of neocons are going to vote for Hillary. A lot of establishment Republicans are going to vote for Hillary Clinton because she represents what they love. Not going to rock the boat. Everything's going to be cool. You know, she's a centrist / center-right Democrat. Can work with everybody. Hey, all systems go. The people look at her, they go, career politician, corrupt, not looking out for us. If you don't think he can win, you're fucking crazy. He absolutely can win. Now, like I just said, my official prediction is that it might be similar to the primary in that she's hanging on for dear life here at the end, man. Even with him and the fucking I grabbed their pussy fucking scandal and all the other scandals, even with all that, they're still like, people are still like, I gotta vote for Hillary. She's hanging on for dear life. The more people see her, the more people hear her, the less they like her. It happened against Bernie Sanders in the primary. It's happening now in the general election. Even with as disliked as he is, the race gets tighter and tighter as we move along. So she may just hang on for dear life and edge it out in the end. That's my prediction. But I'm letting you know right now, my prediction is massively uncertain. So that could happen, or Trump may have imploded with lack of ground game preparation. And that could be enough where not only she wins, but she wins by a sizable amount. So anything can happen. Uncertainty is high. Uncertainty is way higher than it was in 2012. And we're in for an epic day tomorrow, no matter what happens.